What's going on here? This Pedo back with another book review. Today we doing the book of Jose, the book of Fat Joe, the Brooklyn Don, Joey Crack. Definitely a good book. Definitely a good read. About a good 9 hours of this book. It was interesting. I just want y'all to check it out. Let me know what y'all think. This Pedo back with another book review. Let's get it. First thing about this book, I know he was the youngest. Of course, I'm the youngest, so I always resonate with people that like that. It's funny, he started out talking about how he got the name Joey Crack and how he would be in school and his pants would be sagging, whatever, and the girls would be like, ew, Joey Crack. And that's literally how he got the name. True story. You don't believe me? It's in the book. Check it out. His mom was Latino. His dad was Cuban. I didn't know that. Of course, you know, he grew up in a black neighborhood. He also talked about how he got kicked out of 6 different schools because he was tagging the walls everywhere. He kept getting in trouble. You know, the typical, you know what I mean, well, Hispanic kid in the hood. You know how that go. He talked about his inspiration to start rapping was the Furious 5. How he used to get bullied in school every day. How he used to get jumped. And like one of his best friends was walking home with him one day, and they was like, look, if you don't end up helping us jump him, then we're gonna jump you. So his best friend ended up jumping him, and that kind of turned him cold a little bit because this one kid kept, you know, jumping him every day from school. So that was a funny part of the book, and it came back again in the story a little later, but we'll get to that. He talked about him using the N-word and how a lot of people been coming down on him on the internet. Today's time for him using that word. And I thought that was interesting because when I grew up in Philly, a lot of Puerto Ricans that I grew up around, they all said the N-word. And I grew up around so many Puerto Ricans. That's how I got my name, was Papito, Pito for short, but everybody, when I grew up, called me Papito. So, I mean, it's interesting. I've been around it for so long. It's kind of normal to me. I don't know if I was ever supposed to be offended or not, but I mean, they're kind of in the same boat. In my opinion, we all the same, but I thought that was interesting, though, about people coming at him for using it. He said he tried to be a little bit more conscious of using the word to this day because of that, but I thought it was interesting, you know what I mean? But one of the kids that kept jumping him, he started, you know, clicking up with his own people, and they started forming this terror squad because they was like TS, they was like, you know, little hood gang or whatever, so they ended up seeing the kid that was jumping him every day. He was chasing him, trying to catch him, to jump him, to beat him back up or whatever. And some little kid came out of nowhere and tackled the dude that was running from him. And they ended up jumping him. And the dude's like, yo, man, I just want to be down with Terror Squad. He was like, yeah, come on, whatever. But to this day, they friends. This kid that helped them out of nowhere that didn't even know him at the time. So I thought that was funny. Another part of the book that was crazy, man. Fat Joe said his first son was born autistic and with Down syndrome. And how his mom and dad, you know, helped him take care of his son to this day. How his son still sleep in the same bed with his dad, and how the mom dipped out immediately. Like she ain't want to have no parts of that at all. And she was like, she didn't even want to have no part of it. And he was like, nah, we gonna take care of my son. We got it. And he said, like, since the baby was born till now, I don't know, kind of an adult now, the mom only seen the baby like 3 times, which is wild. You just dip, like you can't have no parts of that. I thought that was crazy. All right, another funny story about the book. He talked about, you know, he was into the selling, hustling and all that, and it was wild, all this crazy wild story. Once you read it, you get in all that. But one thing that stuck out to me, he was saying this Ecuadorian kid kept trying to kill him or whatever. And like the Ecuadorian kid would like pew pew, like coming at him like with a Mac 11 all the time. And he said like 3 days in a row, he'd come back with this Mac 11, come back with the Mac 11. And he just couldn't figure out. And he was like, all I kept thinking was, where is the police when you need them? Like, this is wild. I thought that was hilarious. Like, you talking all this shoot 'em up, bang, bang, and somebody try to, you know, get you up out of here. You like, yo, where the police at, bruh? I thought that was hilarious. Listening to these stories, man, of these, you know, black men and hustling at the point and at a certain time frame in their lives, and how traumatic it really be. And I don't really think that's enough of a conversation that we have in out here, is how traumatic and how much of an impact hustling has on a lot of these men, and these post-traumatic stress and PTSD and all that. And we don't really have them conversations about the impact that it really has, because, you know, you see a lot of people that still try to glorify it or try to be that image or that idea of this hustler, like this kingpin and all that kind of stuff, but you really don't hear the toll it takes mentally, or physically, emotionally on a person outside of just being killed or in jail, just the traumatic response it has on you. So I think there need to be a little bit more of a conversation. You feel me? He talked about the first time he got high and how he had a bad trip and how he was running out the house naked. And like my first time even having weed at all was with a chick, but my experience was dope, real dope. It is funny, man, because I was just thinking about his experience and mine, and it's like, I appreciate my experience. Even though I barely ever smoke, like ever. Ain't for me. I be having too much to do, too much going on. I can't really ingest like that. But the few times I have done, I've always was making sure that I was well taken care of in that moment. You feel me? So he got a story of him getting shot, and he was talking about this dude owed him $10. And every day he would ask him where his money was at. So he kept chasing him. He said, but in the movie, this Bronx Tale, Sunday tell Collagio, because Collagio was chasing somebody for their $10 as well. Like, yo, forget about it. Like, you paying them $10 and making a problem go away instead of just thinking about they owe you the 10. And Fat Joe was saying he should have did the same thing, but he didn't. He kept chasing the kid, but the kid ended up shooting him or whatever. And fast forward to like kind of the end of the book or whatever, he was saying like he was gonna get his lick back on the kid or whatever, and he went outside this like store and was waiting for him all day, but the kid never showed up. But the crazy part about it is he went home and went to sleep, and the feds busted on his door at that same time. Out of mistaken, they thought he was somebody else, but he wasn't. He was looking for his brother. And they was like, yo, why was you sitting outside of that house all night? Because he was going to kill a kid, but the kid never came out. So if he did end up killing him, he would have ended up locked up for murder, but he never did because he never got the opportunity. But it's just wild how some things line up in life. Like, they always say truth is crazier than fiction. So I just thought that was a dope part of the story as well. I did not know that Fat Joe was doing an amateur night at the Apollo. I don't know if anybody else knew that. I never knew that, but I thought it was dope that he was doing it. He said he won like 4 nights in a row where they retired him, and it's just funny that I didn't never know that man was out there doing Apollo. And he was saying how he went to Arsenio Hall as a guest one day in our city. This is like when he started catching his breaks and things start finally moving for him as a rapper or whatever. And he was like, he kind of blacked out of pure joy from being called up on Arsenio Hall to perform, which I thought it was dope, man. Hearing these stories, these motivational stories of how people finally start catching their break is always inspirational to me, and I'm always want to share it with y'all because it's dope. You know what I mean? He also talked about how when Nas came out with Illmatic, it scared him because lyrically he had to take it to another level. Like he had came out with Flojo, that was like one of his first big singles, and he was like, if you go listen to Flojo and then go listen to Illmatic, you will understand completely why he was shook. He was saying like Jay-Z, Nas, all of them start coming out with all this lyrical content. He's like, oh, I gotta step my game up completely. I can't, if I'm gonna survive, I cannot be out here rapping like I was in Flojo. So if you ever get a chance, go listen to Flojo and go listen to Illmatic, and you understand exactly why that man was shook when Nas dropped. He also gave Jeezy a shout out in the book because he was just saying how authentic Jeezy whole run was, and I just finished that book, as y'all know. So I thought that was dope. He also talked about how him and Big Pun called each other twin. Now it's funny because if you're in Atlanta, I don't know if it's anywhere else, but in Atlanta, everybody, like you see somebody in the corner, what up, twin? What up, twin? You hear that everywhere you go. So to hear him and Fat Joe was Big Pun was calling each other that, I thought that was super interesting as well in this book. I never knew that Big Pun discovered Remy Ma. I always thought Fat Joe did, but Big Pun discovered Remy Ma. And speaking of Big Pun, he goes into details of Pun when he lost Pun, and the scene that he described was extremely like sad and graphic, man. It was like wildly unfortunate. It's something I ain't never heard before. So when y'all get a chance to read this book and check it out, let me know what y'all think about that part of the book when he talked about Big Pun passing, because I definitely want y'all opinion on that. Another thing he talked about was his sister was having a baby, and she had to get like a epidural or whatever, and the doctor messed it up and ended up falling into a coma. So, and when she fell in a coma, she ended up passing and losing the baby, and they ended up suing the hospital and winning a couple mil from the neglect. He said in the court proceeding paperwork, it actually said that the doctor killed his sister. And he was talking about how often that happens. It was just different to hear him talk about black women and, you know, Latino women and the things that they go through in these hospitals and how they be treated. And sometimes they just treat it like test dummies because people don't really be knowing what they got going on or whatever the case may be. And it was definitely something that I thought was interesting that I need to look into more because I don't really know too much about it, but I definitely raised the eyebrow to, what's going on out here. Another part, he was saying once his sister passed, they won a lawsuit for like 1.8 million, and his family decided to leave all of it to his son. I mean, to her son, her other son, not the one that died at the hospital, but her other son. And how basically the son ran through all the money, blew through the whole 2 mil, and he really didn't want to be a part of it too much because he didn't want nobody thinking that he was trying to steal his money. And how he kind of just blew through that 2 mil. And I got case money when I turned 18 as well. And I blew through it. I was buying like throwbacks and Jabot jeans and Jordans and all this kind of goofy crap at the time. But at the time I was doing it, money wasn't an issue, or my idea of it wasn't an issue for nobody in my family. So I was thinking like it didn't matter. I could do whatever I want with this bread because we got so much money coming in. But that was stupid. And things ain't never what they appear to be. You feel me? Another thing in this book he talked about was how he got robbed by his accountant for 2 years and wasn't paying the taxes, wasn't paying his mortgage, wasn't doing nothing. And the IRS came after him. The IRS was like, yo, you got paid. And he was like, yo, I got robbed. And they was like, we ain't got nothing to do with that. So he ended up going to jail for like 4 or 5 months and had to pay all his bread back because his accountant got robbed, because the accountant was robbing him and not paying all his bills. And on top of that, while he was going through that, his best friend was robbing him too. And he don't even know how much he was robbing him for because the new accountant that he got only looked back 2 years. But if he would have looked back over a lifetime, his best friend probably was stealing from him way more. And it just was crazy, man, because he went to jail behind that. And like, it's just wild, man. It's just crazy that you just think people really be in your corner and they really don't. How much people was stealing from him. So the later in the book, he talked about all the things he wanted to accomplish, the back and forth for him and Remy Ma, the little issues they had, and how he's been consistent in his plans to be a billionaire and his relationship with Khaled and Jay-Z and everybody like that. And overall, it was a dope book, man. It definitely was a good read. I definitely want y'all to check it out. If you have read the book of Jose, Fat Joe book, let me know what you think. And holla at me. This is Pito, another book review. I'm out.